going to impact Earth very soon. Within the next week, 10 days, less than that period of time. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about, it looks like we're moving into another Revolutionary War. Now, the Revolutionary War was fought against the deep state. And we're on the verge of going to war against the deep state, right? So this is something that's been brewing for quite some time. I believe that this time when we fight this Revolutionary War, that we will win and we will have 1,000 years of peace, right? But the way everything aligns and so forth is it kind of moves in this direction. It's a godly thing. It's a spiritual thing. There's lots of different reasons for these events like this that happen, continue to happen, and I think we're seeing the result of a lot of that. So let's look at some recent Dutch Sense has done a really good job of talking about all of the different Earth activities that have been going on for quite some time. Let's look at his information. He basically gives us an overview of how these earthquakes are happening. The 7.4, it was a deep earthquake, and Dutch Sense has been very accurate in proving that deep earthquakes are often followed by shallower, more intense earthquakes. So he shows where just several days ago there was an earthquake out near, I think it was New Zealand, and it was a 6.3. And then, of course, the energy transfers. So it transferred, as he predicted, across the ocean, and it struck Colombia. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting on the spiritual side. We know that we just had Venezuela got hit. On the spiritual side, we can look at the drug running and the election theft that was going on in Venezuela. That sometimes has repercussions, often actually, and so the earthquake that happened there. So Colombia right now, of course, Colombia has been also a scene of a lot of drug trafficking and so forth, but they're also sending tens of thousands of troops to Ukraine. Now, we know that Ukraine is Luciferian, Nazi regime, and they're going against Christians, Russians, then the Russian Orthodox Church, very, very, very Christian, very devout, and so forth. And the Ukrainians, I think it might have been last Christmas or before Christmas, they had like some kind of demonic Luciferian dance, to like taunt the Russians. Yeah, that's basically you're showing us what you're about, right? So this is something I think that is happening. The Russians are decimating Ukraine. Ukraine will not exist anymore. Russia is going to completely take over Ukraine, right? So we know the Nazis are very much there in Ukraine. Russia is squeezing Ukraine to death, and anaconda squeeze that is going to continue until they're completely gone. Anyone that goes in there, like the Colombians, are part of a Luciferian system. So all those men that went over there to get income, they're being encircled and trapped, and because they're fighting for as mercenaries for another country, they don't get the same treatment. They get executed. Right, for murder, because they're not part of a force that's recognized under the codes of military conduct. So, I think we're seeing biblical events that are happening right now. I don't know if that's actually why, it happened. As Dutch Sense is going to show you guys, energy transfers. Now, why did that energy happen? Why did it transfer? And where is that energy going next is going to be very interesting. All right, so let's dive in and see what he has to say.
Go. So here's our 7.4, but we go back 5 days and see this big red arrow. You see where it points, right? Big red arrow pointing right towards Colombia. We trace the red arrow back. We're going to go over this way, and look where we go. We go over to our deep 6.3 earthquake, which struck 5 days ago. And this deep 6 struck down at 200 and or 190 to 220 kilometers deep, depending on who you go with. If you go with Geophone, we've got 190.
So that was 190 in depth, and I think the one that happened in Colombia was like, I don't know, around 100 kilometers, 120, something like that. It was less, but still deep, still quite deep. Now, if the next one, when it comes, because it will come, and he's going to talk about that. It's going to be monumentally. It's usually at least a magnitude greater, as we saw here. It was a 7.4, and they often downgrade these. Like he has it in parentheses. If you see this, looking at that 7.5, they downgrade. Dutch Census talked about this for a long time because they're not trying to get people riled up. Right, they're trying to control consciousness. So he's often talked about this. Now he also talks about how he's been attacked by the deep state, right? So the deep state has come after him because he's revealing stuff that they want to control and manipulate and so forth. They do it with everything. It's crazy, right? Because Dutch Sense has been giving us really good insights for quite some time. All right, so this was what he put out 2 days ago. This is when the earthquake happened. So usually he says within 5 to 10 days or somewhere around there. So the New Zealand earthquake, as you see here, happened 5 days before the 7.4. So as you see this, that was a 6.3, and then it was a magnitude higher, and then some a little bit, because this was very deep, and the next one was a little bit shallower. So will the next one be even shallower again, or will it still be deep and an 8.5? Right, that's a massive earthquake. That causes, if it hits out in the ocean, it causes massive tsunamis, like he talks about, because you look equidistant, which means the other side of the globe. I know this is tough for you flat earthers. I agree with a lot of stuff the flat earthers say, but there's stuff about the Earth being round as well that makes sense. So equidistant, and this happens quite often on the other side of where these earthquakes happen. If you look at a round globe, then that takes us over to Indonesia, where we had that big tsunami many years ago that took out hundreds of thousands of people. All right. And it was an 8+. So this is what we're looking at coming next. Is it going to be in Indonesia, or is it going to go the path of least resistance, which not many, but there have been some that have gone north up into California. All right. So California, as we know, is way overdue for a biggie, right? So now, will it just go over to Indonesia, strike, and it strikes deep? Maybe not as deep as the one that happened in New Zealand, of course, and then Colombia, but then comes back, because he talks about how these earthquakes ping pong back and forth across the Pacific, right? So will it go massive in Indonesia and then bounce back across the ocean and then hit California? And that would be like a 9+. All right. So we're looking at California getting hit. I've seen it for quite some time, talked about it. I saw it when it got hit. It was going to be very hot. We know we have very high temperatures right now. I saw it in the fall of last year. I thought it was going to be last year, because it was so intense in my remote view. It was so very obvious, and I was like, "Is there going to be another high and some hot temperatures. I was waiting for some hot temperatures, and we never got them. So here we are. We're in the hot temperatures, and my forecast is it feels much stronger now. So I think we're going to see something in a lot of people have been predicting this. Even Dutch Sense says, up around the LA area, a 5.0 is what he's predicting. So if there's going to be an earthquake and the fault is already starting to constrict and getting ready to go, would this energy go up there and kick that off to a higher degree? That's something to be aware of going forward. So let's see what else he's got to say here.
We go with the USGS, it's more like 212 or something like that on the depth. Now, when we get deep earthquakes, we watch for shallower, larger earthquakes up to a magnitude larger to spread up, out, and away from where the deep earthquake took place. And the deep earthquake took place, well, let's get a USGS report quake on here if I can. Let's get the USGS plate boundary map. Actually, that might even come in more handy. There we are. Go to the plate boundary map. To go pull the coordinates from whoever's got them available, and we'll put them in over on Google Earth. I already measured earlier, and this is taking us west of Nevado del Ruiz volcano. But let's go put the coordinates in and show you. Nevado del Ruiz shows up from time to time on the list. It is not on the list now. Instead, Puros volcano has been on the list over and over again in Colombia, but that's slightly different, of course. But then back there was a tennis match that was going on all year long, building up to an 8.0 earthquake that struck south of New Zealand 3 days before the 2004 Banda Aceh earthquake on December 23rd. There was an 8.0 earthquake south of New Zealand, and that had been a back and forth that had been happening for months in the 7.0 range, building up to the Banda Aceh earthquake over here.
So last year we saw a lot of back and forth. He talks about how it would hit Japan, Russia. It would go over into South America and hit, and then bounce back over and hit, bouncing back and forth. So it seems like we're in one of those periods right now where these earthquakes are bouncing back and forth across the Pacific. Of course, even over in Italy, and we've had some Mount Etna is like really streaming lava like crazy. Dutch Sense talks about, and when I was going up into Washington to go to a camp, there was some earthquakes that are happening at the volcanoes as we were going up in Oregon, and I was like, wow, I bet that's part of what's starting some of these fires. So Dutch Sense looked at all of the fires that are happening all along the West Coast, and they're all seem to be happening right around volcanoes. So it sounds like there's magma that's down there. There's heat that's coming out. They don't see the magma yet, but it's building. So the heat is coming out, hitting methane pockets or whatever, and popping to the surface and starting some of these fires. So that could be, and I talked about that before. Now Dutch Sense is talking. He's talked about it for years. So I'm picking up on some of the stuff he's put out before. But that really alerted me to that, and he is talking about that as well. So equidistant from the Colombia earthquake, equidistant is in Indonesia, like he's talking about that huge Sumatra earthquake that happened that like I said, killed well over 200,000 people, something like that.
Caused so much damage in 2004. So now here we are again, and we're seeing it back and forth between Japan, Venezuela, Philippines, and now Colombia. Huge earthquakes. And this is in a short period of time, a matter of a few weeks. We went many months, if not a whole year, without any back and forth at all of any significant size. And now here we are with multiple sevens and greater in the past few months.
All right. So we're looking at this going big, guys. This is I've been predicting this an 8.2 to 8.6 happening in California. And is it going to be Northern California? It's going to be it's going to be out at sea, which causes a tsunami. I see a tsunami this year. I see a big earthquake also in California as well. So this back and forth that we're talking about here, once it starts, if it starts to go north up into the California, gets bounced back and forth up there, this ping pong effect, it's going to be pretty significant, I think. And then we'll go, and then it's going to ping pong all the way into next year, getting larger and larger and larger, right? Now, this is something that Stefan Burns put out earlier.
Hello, everyone. Geophysicist Stefan Burns here with unfortunate breaking news. A gigantic magnitude 7.4 earthquake has struck.
Now, he goes into the energy that came off of that. Let's see if I find it.
Okay, so I'm showing you here the position of the sun and the moon. We see that they're getting closer together. All right,
here it is.
Right, they can have.
So he talks about the planetary stuff as well, but I want you guys to watch this because after this earthquake, the energy, like I've been saying, a possibility, a lot of this energy went north, right? So watch this map.
So it's all of North America that's now been loaded by this. Same for Venezuela with the 7.2, 7.5 doublet. Is swept across even a little bit more so like that. So we see that we've had tons of it in Mexico down here loading it this way, the 7.3. So we've had tons of energy now in North America as a result of these high magnitude sevens. And we very well could be looking at big activity here or New Madrid. It's certainly possible. I don't get so much of a sense for New Madrid personally.
I don't either.
On that is
Yeah, the New Madrid, I think, is going to be next year, not this year. Yellowstone, I don't see I've never seen Yellowstone going big. We could get some activity there, but a lot of people have been freaking out and panicking over Yellowstone. I've never seen it. People always ask me, and I was like, no, don't worry. Let it go. All right. But, of course, it could happen. I'm not completely all knowing, all seeing. But, yeah, look at the energy that went up there. Let's see. There was another one. Maybe I went too far. Let's see if I can get it back to that spot.
I can show you a visualization for the seismic energy spreading out with this web page here. And maybe it's updated even beyond what we got. Okay, so let me download this to show you guys. We'll see this seismic energy spread out across North America. They're still working on the more zoomed out view, I presume. Can this download? Oh, okay. Let's see, 1 second. Went to a different folder. Okay, here we go. This is the visualization that we have right now that I can show you. And look at how it really hits all across simultaneously because it's coming in. This is the Great Circle.
All right, it's about the same. It's the same thing I showed you. I thought it was different. And maybe there's another point in here that I'm not seeing where it looked like I was working out of the gym, so it could be a little bit different. So, but it looked like it really lit up certain areas more. But I guess that was it. All right, so let's move on. There's lots of information out there on these earthquakes. I've been predicting that we're going to see some very, very large activity this year. We're not quite there yet. We've seen obviously a lot, but last year was a lot. This year is even more, and we're not at the height, I don't believe yet. I think within the next few weeks, we're going to really see some incredible activity, and then further into the remainder of the year, and then into next year, it's going to be off the charts. It's going to be way off the charts. All right. So it's kind of like building everybody up to it. You're gonna see. We're already seeing this stuff happening. So people are starting to, okay, we haven't seen this before. Camp Gray has had an earthquake that was 4.7, I think it was, in the most recent recorded history. That's the largest they've had. Going back 500 years. So that's it's definitely coming to the point where it's going to really start to impact the planet, I believe, and the areas that are going to be impacted, biblical, right? So spiritual areas, the areas that are going to be impacted the most, I think, is going to be a spiritual thing. So we see in California, there's a lot of fraud, cheating, the Hollywood, adrenochrome, child trafficking. California has some serious problems, right? And they're not being corrected. So you'll sometimes see something like this. We look biblically, where and they say God struck them, but is it a consciousness thing? Is it a vibration? Is it energy that attracts? And I think that's more likely what we're going to see going forward, kind of like Venezuela, Colombia, and then Camp Gray, Italy. A lot of problems over there. We may see some other areas that are problematic, get earthquake and volcanic activity and so forth. So, sinful disobedience, like goes to like. Yeah, good. That's pretty much. You guys you're nailing it. So that's what I believe is happening. So we're going to see the deep state get taken down. Now, how long has the deep state been active? Well, the deep state basically traces its origins back to the city of London. All right. So the city of London hasn't been taken down. Right? It's still active. So we go all the way back to Revolutionary War. City of London. All right. And they want to blame the kings. The kings are just like the presidents of today, or the prime ministers or whatever. They're, to the great extent, they're puppets of the deep state for a great extent. I don't believe and hope that President Trump is not one of them. I don't think he is, but yeah, I'm always watching. I watch everything, and trust but verify, right? So let's go back in time a little bit, and look at some of this and kind of work it up into the current time frame. So let's travel back in time to the Boston Massacre. So known in Great Britain as the incident on King Street. So they shot American colonists who had constitutional rights under Britain. So they had natural, charter, and constitutional rights of British subjects in the colonies, but that was being abused, kind of like what's happening now, right? So our rights are being abused, and if we, set up a group of people that protest that. Back then, they got shot, right? So there was the massacre where several people were killed by British soldiers. Here's the Bloody Massacre by Paul Revere, 1770 engraving depicting the Boston Massacre in March of 1776. So this happened over 256 years ago. But I feel that we're pretty close to this now, right? All right, so the event was subsequently described as a massacre by Samuel Adams. Thank you for the beer, Samuel. And Paul Revere, oneth by sea, twoeth by land. And, riding through the town saying, the British are coming, the British are coming. And did you guys know there was a female that was doing the same thing, but she didn't get credit? But, that's kind of the way things work, unfortunately, for you ladies. You don't get the credit sometimes. But we try and hook you up as much as we can these days. All right, so the governor came out after the shooting. There were 400 or 500 people, 300 to 400 estimated, and they were protesting. People were getting riled up, kind of like now. People were getting riled up at the bullshit that's going on. All right, so there was a pushback, and so this was 1770. Right, there would be quite a long time that goes by before things really started to bump up. So, of course, the real story of Paul Revere's ride, that was 1774 and 1775. The evening of April 18th, 1775, Dr. Joseph Warren summoned Paul Revere and gave him the task of riding to Lexington, Massachusetts, with the news that British soldiers stationed in Boston, again, were about those murderous Boston redcoats, were about to march into the countryside northwest of the town. So they were going to, two leaders of the Sons of Liberty who were staying in a house in Lexington, and that was Samuel Adams and John Hancock. All right, so John Hancock, who would put his John Hancock on the Declaration of Independence, and you can see the Declaration of Independence. He made it big, right? So, and we'll go into how a lot of the people that were involved in signing the Declaration of Independence were killed, tortured, lost all their fortunes. But some of them, although they were heavily suppressed by the British, of course, eventually made their way back because they're fighters, right? So not all of them. There's a lot of sayings out there that all of them had lost their fortunes and died penniless. That's not completely true. Well, it's not true because some of them did go forth and become quite successful. One of them was a South Carolinian who became very wealthy. All right, who lost it and then got it back. So I love that. Revere, because I'm a South Carolinian, Revere stopped by his own house to pick up his boots and overcoat and proceeded short distance to Boston's North End waterfront. So there, two friends rowed him across the river to Charlestown, slipping past the British warship in the darkness. So sneaky guys. And in Lexington, as he approached the house where Adams and Hancock were staying, Sergeant Monroe, acting as a guard outside the house, requested that he not make so much noise. Noise, cried Revere. You'll have noise enough before long. All right, so the city folk came out and met the the British, and because they were coming to get not only their Sons of Liberty but also their arms. They had gunpowder, rifles, and cannons stored up, and the British were coming to seize it. Kind of like the deep state liberal Democrats try to keep stealing our weapons too, right? So that's why I believe we're moving in the direction of another revolutionary war, taking down the deep state. Now, the deep state obviously likes their communist, because the communists make sure that they get the wealth, the 1%. But people think that they're going to get hooked up because that's what they promise. And these promises are never been kept. And people just keep getting stupider, I guess. They don't look at history. So history has to repeat. And I believe we're going to have a little revolutionary war. Not a big one, but a little one. All right. So what's going on in New York? Let's look. Let's look and learn.
Against Mayor Zoran Mamdani and the city's finance director over the rollout of the city's new pied-à-terre tenants. The suit does.
Tax? Wasn't that what the Revolutionary War was about? Unfair taxation.
Challenge the tax itself, which is the surcharge on second homes valued over $5 million, as well as co-ops and condos valued $1 million or more. But the action does take issue with how the city released the names and addresses of over 900,000 homeowners across the city, as well.
All right, so this is where the problem lies. So, Mamdani, this is, I guess, something that happens every year where there's this ridiculous taxation of people that have second homes. I don't know why the people in New York allowed this to happen, but it has happened. And now they're trying to slide in and claim that everybody that's a millionaire has to pay this tax now, unless you can claim that you own your residence. Oh, wow. That sounds like some kind of British deep state bullshit going on.
The distribution of the surcharge notices. A spokesperson for Mayor Mamdani said in a statement, quote, "The Department of Finance has been working around the clock to answer questions, provide assistance, and ensure those subject to the surcharge have the information they need. The law department is prepared to vigorously defend the city against this suit." Last month, the city's Department of Finance released its annual tax roll, which listed names and addresses of all homeowners across the 5 boroughs, including those who may be subject to the tax. Approximately 17,000 notices were sent to property owners, alerting them that they would need to file for exemption, proving primary residency, or face the tax. But it's important to note, this tax roll is released annually in accordance with New York state law, but received heightened awareness with the announcement of the tax. Simon Headley, one of the plaintiffs in the suit and a resident of Manhattan who calls himself a supporter of...
Oh, these idiots. I love it. All right. So we had a lot of idiots during the Revolutionary War too, that supported. They felt that they wanted to support Britain, and they died on the battlefield as well. So there was like 10 to 15% of people during the Revolutionary War throughout the cities, the 13 colonies, that identified as, I guess, people that like the Britain, and so they fought for Britain. Now we're going to see this again. We're already seeing this, and what I'm saying we're going to see this again, but we're seeing it now with these communists, these people that have been brainwashed into believing that this deep state British rule stuff, right? They're not going to come out and say they're British, but of course it still traces back to the British city of London. And what they're saying is, hey, all you rich boys and girls, you need to pay us. All right. So this is kind of a communist thing where people that are taxed pay for other people's stupidity. Right. So and guy like Mamdani, he wants to take our income and give it away to people that don't deserve it. Right. So this is one of the things that has happened throughout time. That's what the British were doing. They're taking our goods, remarketing our goods that we created in the colonies, and creating tariffs, right? And sending those goods back to us, and at a higher amount. So these people that were involved in that process in the colonies, which were loyalists, that's what I was looking for, the term loyalist. So the loyalists to the Communist Party, right? The loyalists to the City of London manipulation and control, the deep state. This is what we're going to fight against, all right? And I don't know if there's going to be muskets involved in this again, or if we're going to somehow be able to get the military to just surround them, tell them to go bye-bye, and then do court proceedings. I don't see how that's going to happen. We have if we took all the military people, and not all the military are war fighters, right? There's people that are in supply. There's people in the personnel department to handle your pay and your your travel and all that kind of stuff. There's not that many warfighters in the military, guys. So you're expecting, a lot of you are expecting the military, because you've heard it for a while, the military is the only way, that the military is going to come settle all this. If we, deployed all of the military, they may be able to go to like New York and Chicago and LA and a few other states, but we have a lot more cities and states than that. All right. So think about that.
Said receiving such a notice was, quote, deeply upsetting. The lawsuit is asking the court to declare the notices in the Finance Department's property roll as unlawful, as well as seeking immediate removal of the list publicly. The plaintiffs are also seeking to pause any obligation for homeowners who receive the notices to respond while the case moves forward and prevent further enforcement until the court reaches a decision. Following the backlash the city received over...
So the court is going to reach a decision, kind of like what happened during the colonial times. The British court, the bar, lawyers, right? The British accredited registry of lawyers. We still have that today. Duh. Right. So we're still under the British rule, guys, the deep state. And I don't know about you, but I think it's time we like kick their butts out of here for good and forever. So New York, who lives in New York? Right. Yeah. I don't. So I screw you guys in New York. You're on your own. Right. So now, speaking of New York was a primary geographic and strategic center of the American Revolutionary War. It was the site of the massive 1776 British invasion, a crushing defeat for General George Washington's Continental Army, a long British military occupation, and the pivotal 1777 American victory at Saratoga that turned the tide of the war. All right, so they ran out the Continental Army, and remember, they went to Valley Forge and almost froze to death. There wasn't many of them left, but somehow they recovered, came back, and over a long period of time, they finally kicked the British ass. Long time later. So control of the city, New York remained under British command from September 1776 until Evacuation Day on November 25th, 1783. All right. 7 years later. Wow. Ma'am Donnie, how long is it going to last? How long are the communists going to last in New York? I hope not 7 years. That's a long time. I don't know if there will be anything left of New York. Of course, after the Continental Army, the Patriots, you know what the British called the Patriots? Terrorist. So they didn't call them patriots. That was our term, right? The British called us terrorists. Now, the number of people that were loyalists, patriots, fought for complete independence from Great Britain, making up about 40 to 45% of the colonial population. Of course, there's probably a lot less in New York. And I don't know about Boston, but because Boston was the head of a lot of pushback, the start of it. So thank you, Boston. But I don't think it's that way today. I think they've been taken over. I think it's pretty liberal in Boston now. But loyalists, also called Tories, wanted to remain British subjects, making up about 15 to 20% of the population, while the rest remained neutral. Right. All right, going with whichever side won. The British one. That I'm British then. Right. So sheeple have always been a problem, but sheeple are not going to go away, guys. All right. So we have 15-20% of our population at this point, I believe, that are loyalists to the communist deep state. Right. And so those of us do we even have 40, 45%? I don't know at this point. It doesn't take that much. I think it takes a lot less than that to make a difference. But it was a mess. Now, during the British occupation, they had prison ships in New York Harbor. And I remember reading about this. I read about how, they tried to save people on the ships and it didn't work out. It was bad. Prison ships, thousands of captured American patriots were held in brutal conditions aboard rotting British ships anchored in Wallabout Bay, Brooklyn, resulting in more American deaths than all the war's battles combined. All right. So if we had not defeated Hillary or, Joe Biden, if he had continued or something like that had continued, so we would probably be on prison ships. I would be on prison ship somewhere. No, I wouldn't. I would go down fighting, of course. But and boy, I would take a lot with me. A lot. And I don't know that I would ever go down. But I'm a guerrilla fighter. I go guerrilla. If this goes ugly and I go guerrilla warfare, oh my God. All right. It's going to be very bad for them. All right. So, and I know there's people that have been posting about there's lots of people that have been trained in military. Yeah. And some of them are part of the deep state. Right. So this is a problem that a lot of people have over time, where they think that our side is always good. Remember Benedict Arnold? All right. So the military is not always good, guys. I've told you guys that for a while. Not everybody in the military is good. All right. George Washington's death. So George Washington died at 67 in 1799. Of course, he was the first president. He lived through that. Now, he caught a cold during a winter storm on December 12th while inspecting his farm. And I've heard stories that he was out gallivanting with a favored lady, and while he was making his way back, a storm hit. He got sick. So this is part of the disinformation and lies they put out there about our heroes, seeding disinformation. This is something that often happens. Now, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. John Adams, I think, was the second president, I think. Thomas Jefferson, maybe third or fourth, something like that. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams didn't like each other. Now, John Adams, remember that Boston Massacre? It was John Adams that defended those soldiers and got most of them off. There was like one that had his thumb branded, and that was what he got for shooting those people. All right. Yeah, sounds like the deep state takes care of its own. John Adams, was he part of the deep state? Is that why Thomas Jefferson didn't like him? Mm-hmm. So now, both of them died on the same day, on July 4th. That sounds like deep state activity to me, guys. Doesn't that sound very suspect to you? That both of our people that helped us, break free from Britain, they died on July 4th. It's like that's like a thumb in the eye. Yeah, they died on the same day. Wow. So Jefferson died at Monticello at age 83, and Adams died in Massachusetts at age 90, with his famous last words being, of course, we don't really know. This is probably deep state bullshit too. Thomas Jefferson still survives. And then he dies, unaware that Jefferson had died 5 hours earlier. That's quite a story. Deep state. You guys suck. All right, so that's my thoughts on that. And we're back at it. These guys are back at it again. So the price they paid, Sons of American Revolution. Have you ever wondered what happened to those men who signed the Declaration of Independence? 5 signers were captured by the British as traitors, tortured before they died. Bummer. Right? 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons in the Revolutionary Army. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or the hardships of the Revolutionary War. What kind of men were they? 24 were lawyers and jurists, 11 were merchants, 9 were farmers and large plantation owners, men of means, well educated. But they signed the Declaration of Independence knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. So talks about Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ships swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in rags. And it goes on to talk about many others. But there were some that broke out. Like I talked about the one gentleman from South Carolina, South Kakalaki, Edward Rutledge, sat in the state legislature from 1782 to 1798. He was elected governor of South Carolina, but died before completing his term in 1800. He died a very wealthy man, very wealthy, right? And I don't know what that meant back then. He probably wasn't a millionaire, probably a thousandaire. Back then, that meant a lot. All right, that was like a billionaire today. Right? So there were lots of people that went on to do well. After British took Charleston, General Sir Henry Clinton had men of military age left in the city rounded up. Most were released soon after, including most of the militia troops. He had originally allowed the officers to keep their swords, but changed his mind when they began to shout rebel slogans. Only the Continental troops were held for any length of time. So, of course, it was South Carolinians, the Swamp Fox, that basically fought guerrilla warfare, and that was what really devastated, and that's where supposedly the Rangers come from the Swamp Fox. Edward Marion, I think it is, something like that. Francis Marion. And I remember when I was a kid, when we go to Myrtle Beach every year for vacation for a week or two, I think it was like a week, and we would stay at the Swamp Fox Hotel. I loved it. So I was always into history back when I was little. So I love going to the Swamp Fox Hotel. I wonder if it's still there. So next earthquake will be in Spain. Okay, we'll check that. That's a possibility. When I get enough gas money, I want to visit Michael. Right, you're in Mount Shasta. Nice. Well, visit me in a event that I have. Don't come to my home, please. That's a problem that we have, and we have people arrested for that. Right? Yes. You're an influencer. You're going to have some crazy show up. All right. So this happens at a lot of events too, unfortunately. So this is MSNBC panics as late night ballot drop destroys Democrat socialist. All right, let's watch this. It seems to me that the tables were flipped on the Democrats. Let's watch.
NBC is having a meltdown after some late night election shenanigans defeated their favorite socialist. I guess the exact thing, yes, is that 5 of the USB 6 were missing results from the election.
All right, so you guys probably remember I talked about Francesca Fong. Very interesting name. All right, so China girl basically did not want people to be paid tips, even though she's from she was a chef, right? So she wants to do away with tips. She's communist, yes, and she didn't like the fireworks that happen on the 4th of July. She did do away with those. She wants to do away with she wanted to do away with Thanksgiving. So sounds like China Girl wanted to come in and just like start destroying America. So look how close she came to winning. David Crowley, is he related to that Crowley guy that's like a Satanist or something? I don't know. But anyway, Francesca Hong almost got it. But what happened? Late night ballots came through. How about that? Late night ballots came through and pushed her off the top. Just barely. Just barely. Kind of like what happened to Trump too, right?
So then they have to go try to read.
So look at these Democrats lovers. They don't like it. They can understand a little taste of what you gave us, you little knuckleheads. So the loyalists don't like it when it happens to them.
Yeah, and they're all the folks behind the scenes are talking about this as well. So we can also look. It's unfortunate. The folks behind the scenes here, you're saying? Yes. Are how do I ask this artfully? You can't. You can't deal with election dysfunction artfully. And now, ironically, election shenanigans have come back to bite the Democrats.
Ha 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 ha! You pirates. See how you like it, right? So, wow. How about that? Late night ballots came through and took out their wonderful communist, loyalist traitor girl, right? China Girl. All right. So now, are we winning somewhere? Yes, we're winning. We're winning lots of places. You just have to pay attention. All right. So let's look. That was a win, I believe. But here's another one. Former SPLC CFO arrested. All right. So the former chief financial officer of the Southern Poverty Law Center, fraud case against the SPLC Attorney General. Yay, Todd Blanche. He's coming through. Good job, Todd. My understanding is today there was an arrest made, and there is a new indictment, an arrest. This is a big arrest, guys. And there is a new indictment that includes the former SFO of SPLC. Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a press conference Tuesday. All right, so you guys might remember this came out. There was wire fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy to conceal money laundering related to. So people would donate to the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they would fight for them, and they felt, oh, this is good. Kind of like that Democrat socialist lover that's in New York, that's a millionaire, probably a multimillionaire. Mamdani, put down this new tax, and he's like, what? I supported you. Why are you doing that? I can't understand. I'm so disappointed. All right, so the SPLC faces federal charges. Alleged payments, alleged because they can't say there were, but we know there were, payments to members of the Ku Klux Klan. Who was the Ku Klux Klan? Who started the Ku Klux Klan? Democrats. Neo-Nazis. And why did they start them? Because the black race was going with the Republicans. They didn't like that. They were going to vote Republican. So they convinced them to stay Democrat. Right? If they didn't abide by that, then they were hung in trees, and KKK signs were burnt to their lawn. So they rounded them up and basically convinced them to stay Democrats. So that's why, unfortunately, that's why a lot of blacks are still under the rules of slavery of the Democrat Party. All right, so neo-Nazis and other groups, while the center claims it was paying informants in order to combat extremism, the Justice Department claims it was propping up the extremism that it claims it existed to oppose. So it's like, I want you to, here's some money. I want you to go rob that house over there so that we can keep the sheriff employed. So, and they're paid by the sheriff. All right, so this is what they were doing. They were basically paying these criminals to keep their criminality and their, actions against each other. So they, Ku Klux Klan, blacks don't like them. That's good. Right? I don't like them either. Neo-Nazis, they don't like the Klan, and so they pitted them against each other. And other groups like I don't know who else we got out there, the Black Lives Matter. I think they were supporting Black Lives Matter to get stupid too. So this is some of the things that are being exposed, guys. So we're breaking down that system, and she's probably going to be talking. All right. I don't know if they'll put her on a prison ship in New York Harbor and torture her to talk. I don't know. That's what the British did to us. I don't know if we're going to do that to them. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we should. So that's all I've got for now. There's lots going on. What about Mount Rainier volcano? Yeah, there's a little bit of activity going on there. I think a lot of those are going to be probably kicking off, but not anytime soon. Maybe next year we'll start to see some of that actually kick off, the volcanoes. All right. Yep, they're still on the plantation. The kid, I get it. Yep, I got you. I'm First Stem Rally, Clan Bake, Marguerites, Sangier, KKK. Yes, exactly, 1940s. So Margaret Sanger was KKK, and she wanted to, have black women get aborted, their babies get aborted. So, and still going on. So black women believe that's part of their rights. How many people have been murdered? Children have been murdered. Quite a few. All right. So yeah, they're still on the plantation. They're still pushing that women's rights. Right. You have the right to murder your baby at any time you want. All right. So that's kind of what that's about. Thanks, MJ. Interesting stuff always. Thank you, Janet. Wonderful chat, fellow patriots. And lab also injections in hindquarters. All right, David. Good. God bless you, Michael Jaco, and all the beautiful warriors out there. Thank you, Mary Ellen Johnson. All right, guys, you know the deal. Stay in love vibration, because that's going to give you the insights to take down this modern day deep state, City of London backed Babylon. All right. So we have to work together, and we're doing it. And Revolutionary War, here we are. All right. Have a great evening. We'll see you guys next time.